All right, guys, I am back. It is New Year's Eve. Getting ready to go into 2018. Got a full moon. A lot of stuff going on. I can feel it. I know I'm not the only one. So I want to talk to you about a concept that I find to be very interesting, very subtle, and can be challenging for people to understand. You know, I focus a lot on taking responsibility for your life. And I'm the one telling you that nothing happens to you, that you create everything in your existence. And I tell you to not see yourself as a victim, but to see yourself as the one who is creating everything in your existence. And yet when it comes to manifestation, the way to manifest what is going to bring us the greatest happiness and joy comes from a space of being in trust and in a place of being surrendered. I don't talk a lot about surrendering because so many people are working really hard to deal with feeling like they're a victim in this big giant world. And so when you talk about surrender to somebody who's in a victim state, they think you mean surrendering to things around you. At the same time, when you talk to somebody who's in a victim state and you talk to them about controlling what you manifest, they think they have to control everything. They have to control other people. This because it comes out and listen, we all go through it. This is part of the way we have chosen to be hypnotized by our society. Did you notice how I said that? We have chosen to be hypnotized this way, into feeling like we are separate and we are victims. A common question is, how can I go after what is truly going to make me happy and at the same time be helpful to others and help them out of their misery? Very common question. Questions of how can I take responsibility and control what I manifest if I'm surrendering to the infinite? How can I do both? So we're going to talk about that. And I think this is the best time to do it because even though for me the actual new year began on the 22nd of December, we celebrate the new year on the 1st of January. So this is the time, whether we realize it or not, whether we choose to or not, you know, we make decisions about how to manifest, you know, and, you know, I have my own judgments about how to handle these kinds of shifts. You know, I'm sitting here with this judgment that I have right across the street from me. You know, I'm in my new place, so it's really wonderful. I'm right on the beach. I've manifested all that, but apparently I've manifested a little bit of noise too. And the people across the street, I don't hear them now. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're typical, you know, people that, you know, they're younger adults. They have little kids, and on the weekends and especially on holidays, they like to have parties, and they sit out on their balcony. And I got this little tiny window that was made in 1930, so it's about as thin as a piece of paper, and I can hear everything. And in my judgment, I'm thinking to myself, so they're taking this time where there's all this energy towards manifesting their new reality, and they're taking it to sit around and drink and get loud and play music loud, and to me that's like kind of a waste. That's my judgment. For all I know, that could be the best way for them. But it's I think it's important to think about, how many times are we given these opportunities, these windows into infinity, and we piss them away by trying to divert ourselves from being in the infinite. And let's be clear, a lot of us are working hard to not be connected to infinity. Another judgment I have, we can see how true it is or not. When I lived in Idaho, one of the reasons I moved there was because there was so much mountains and forest and wilderness, and it was so accessible. Unlike here in California, especially in the Sierras, there's a lot of national parks, and so they're wonderful, but there's restrictions. It's getting less now, but there was a lot of restrictions when I went up. You couldn't bring, all kinds of stuff. But people in Idaho would bring chainsaws and boom boxes and dogs and guns, and and they'd make a hell of a ton of noise, and they'd have to cut something down and blow something up, and and so the way that when instead of judging it, I tried to feel what was going on, and what I felt was that these are people who are trying to escape infinity. They're afraid of infinity on the one hand, but at the same time they can't stay away from it. So they have to go up to the mountains. A lot of people like to go hunting up there. And the same kind of thing. They go hunting, but they bring all this alcohol and they get, drunk and, make a lot of noise. And so on the one hand, they're unconsciously wanting to connect to that infinity, but they're also afraid of it, so they unconsciously try to destroy it at the same time. This is how we live our lives. It's just dawning on me now, because sometimes I start talking about something and I'm wondering, what the hell am I talking about? Why am I talking about that? This is it. We end up seeking to unconsciously destroy the most powerful opportunities to manifest, to create, and to evolve. So that's what I'm going to be talking about here on this New Year's Eve. This is how I'm going to celebrate. And so I want to talk with you about a subject that I don't talk about a lot, which is the idea of surrender and surrendering to the infinite. And I'm going to do my best to try and merge together these ideas, which are the same thing, of how is it you're supposed to be taking responsibility and being in control and not being a victim, and at the same time completely giving up and surrendering and going with the flow. Well, what I'm going to share with you is how going with the flow is really the only way to manifest. And when I talk about manifesting, when I talk about operating from your soul desire, when I talk about alignment of the three selves, I'm really talking about surrendering to a state of infinity within yourself. And the work that is involved is either the work that we have to do to cleanse ourselves, or to try and reverse, overcome, destroy all of the limitations and the fear-based thinking and the unconscious projections that we have that that cause us all the problems. But the irony there is all of those unconscious blocks took a lot of work. We put a lot of effort into creating those. The natural state of the human being is just to go with the flow, is to be in a continuous state of surrender. And, for somebody who's in a continuous state of surrender, even if it looks like they're working really hard, from their perspective on the inside, they're just simply going with the flow. And sometimes it takes more work not to do something than to do it. So we're going to be talking about this going with the flow kind of stuff and manifesting. So before I do that, I will check to see we've got 23 people on. And let's see here. So, if you're new to the channel, I see one person, which I'm willing to bet probably is new to my channel. If you're new to my channel, the best way to interact with me is to state a question. And if you want to get my attention here, because I'm going to scroll through all of the comments that people are making to me or to each other, I want to get to the question. So the best way to get my attention is to put in all caps question and then write your question. That's for the live Q&A. That's not for the actual video. Once it's archived, you can just leave a normal question. And then I'll do my best to answer that question. So, looking for the questions here. There's nothing on here yet. Oh, here's one. Okay, so Pharaoh Horus, probably new to my channel because I've already done at least 2 videos on this. Should I get my chakras removed because someone told me if I don't remove them, I will not ascend? So first thing you have to know, if you're new to my channel, if you want to have any success in what I teach, the first thing you have to do is get rid of all fear-based belief systems. So any belief system that says if you don't do this, then this won't happen, and there's some fear attached to it, then that's a fear-based belief system. So the belief that you have to have your chakras removed because if you don't, you won't ascend. I mean, there's so many things in there. First off, you can't remove your chakras. You can't do it. So you can try all you want, but you can't do it. The best that can happen from these chakra removal meditations is what's really happening is somebody is trying to get to a place of unity within themselves. So they're not doing anything to their chakras. It's like trying to meditate your spleen away. It's really not going to happen. It's part of your structure. It's like your bones. There's nothing. It's not an implant. There's nothing wrong with them. You're not going to get rid of them, no matter how hard you try. It is possible, though, if you do any kind of meditation that's focused on getting you to a place of coming from your own truth, your own singularity. And if you think you need to get rid of your chakras because they're alien implants, if that helps you to do it, then that's all that is. It's just a what do you say, that mnemonic device. But other than that, no, you shouldn't. And the point of this is you need to stop listening to anybody that has any fear-based belief systems, and watch my channel. You can go on my channel and let me explain how to do that. A lot of people don't know. They get onto a channel. Many of you may have got here because you're flipping around and YouTube tells you to watch this and watch that. And, like a lemming, you go wherever people tell you to go. And here you are on this channel. So the best thing to do is to actually go to my channel, thunderwizard.com, DOTCOM. And you can, not in the search bar at the top, but there should be one next to the menu where it says, videos and uploads and all that. There will be a little magnifying glass. You can click on that and type. And it's different, I guess, if you're on your iPad or your phone. But actually put the time and effort into learning how to search my channel. And type in chakras. And you'll see what comes up. The 99% of your questions will be answered if you do that. Having said that, I'm happy to answer questions as people come on. Let's see here. Alrighty. Yeah. Again, if you want my attention, put question in all caps, and I'll answer your question. Otherwise, I'll probably bypass it because I can't tell if it's a question or a comment. Okay, so let me scroll down here a little further and see what's going on. All right, so that's it. I think I've gotten through all that. So let's start talking a little bit now. So for that, I want to be a little more organized and have my notes up here. So first thing we need to do is we do need to take responsibility. We are in a state and we are in a culture where we have people who have become victims. And that includes all of those of you who think that you're fighting against the system, or you're fighting against the government, or you're fighting against people from other countries, or other this or the other people, whoever the others are. If you're one of those people that's standing up for your blah, 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 fill in the blank, you are a victim. Because if you are as strong as you think you are, you have no need to make an enemy out of anybody. The only reason you make enemies out of people is because you feel that they can harm you. So as long as you feel like something or somebody can harm you, whether it's the government, aliens, uh, um, people of other religions, other cultures, people of the other political party, anything. As long as you have this belief that they can do something to harm you, you're a victim. And you're not all that strong. So that's why I make fun of people who need to carry guns and need to blow shit up and all that kind of stuff. I cussed. It's because you're really showing how frightened you are by needing to express yourself that way. So that's the first thing. Get rid of all of that. And then you have to take responsibility. Whatever is in your reality, whether it's in your immediate reality, like I've chosen to live in this incredible place right on the beach where I can go surfing every day. And I have to take responsibility that I knew that there might be some, might be a little louder here than where I was. And that was the trade-off. So every time I want to get like a burr up my rear end about that, I have to stop and say, this was my choice. You can move if you don't like it here. You got to take responsibility. So that means everything in your life. I don't care if it's a disease. I don't care if it's, you think of the worst thing you've ever gone through in your life. You created it. Nobody did it to you. If it's something outside of you, like something big, like if you think the universe is a cruel place, if you think the government is out to get you, if you think that the Illuminati, whatever it is, if they exist, and I'm not saying they do or they don't exist, if they exist, guess who created them? You did. You created them because you needed something to justify your need to stay victimized. When you stay victimized, then you have an excuse not to evolve. The most frightening thing in the universe is to face infinity head on, be torn apart, and to evolve to the next level. That's the most frightening thing there is. That's what death truly is. That's true death. And so whatever you've created in your life that causes you difficulty, pain, problems, it was done by you in order to avoid what I just got through talking about. So take responsibility. You did it. Nobody else did it to you. It's going to solve you a lot of problems. And, let me just ask you this. Which universe would you rather live in? Would you rather live in a universe where there are things outside of you that can control you and harm you and limit you? Or would you rather live in a universe where you yourself decide what it is you create and that you have complete control over your existence? And here we get into the irony and the dichotomy, because at the same time I'm going to tell you in order to get to that place, you have to completely surrender. So how can you be both? How can you be in total control and be in surrender at the same time? But when you find out how to do that, then you end up in the middle of everything. We call it the yin and the yang, the right and the left, the male and female. You end up right smack dab in the middle, where all the power is, what my ancestors called Genungagap. Okay? All right, so that's the first thing you do, is to take responsibility. So we're going to be talking about surrendering, and I'm going to share with you what I believe the key to surrender is. Because let's just talk about the secret. The secret, what you focus on is what you manifest. It's very popular. A lot of people do it. I know I put a lot of time and energy into it for a while. And sometimes you have success, and other times you don't have any success at all. And that's because that's operating from an incomplete assumption. Again, if you're new to my channel, everything starts with an assumption. So this is why you can't get into arguments with religious people, because they have assumptions that the Bible is true or whatever it is, whatever their assumption is. And they're going to base everything they say and do off of their assumption. So the first thing you have to do is you have to identify what somebody's assumptions are. Like, for instance, the Bible is the Word of God. If somebody wants to talk to me about Jesus dying on the cross, I have to stop and say, hang on, you and I don't share the same assumption about reality. I don't believe that the Bible is the Word of God, so you quoting Scripture to me doesn't mean anything. So you're going to have to find another way to get to me. And then, of course, all their reasoning falls apart. Because without that assumption, there's no common sense to what they have to say. Same is true with any other, religion or fear-based belief system. So I think I got off the subject here. In any case, we're going to be talking about how to surrender. I was talking about the secret, and how the secret is an incomplete understanding. So it's not just focusing on manifesting what you focus on. It's not about manifesting what you focus on. because, as you know, that won't work. Now, most people, when they start doing something like The Secret, they go after what it is they think they need or what they think they want. Most of the time, that's money. Most people think if I had X amount of money, or if I had a new house, or if I had a new car, or if I had a new boyfriend, or if I had a new girlfriend, that's where most people go. So don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that you can't manifest some of those things when you do that. But more often than not, you will not succeed. And if you do succeed, you'll go, that's not really what I wanted. It's because you're operating from, first off, again, what's the first thing you do? You're operating from a place of fear, a place of insecurity. Because you're operating from, you can't have what you want if you don't have X, $10,000, whatever it is. Whatever it is you think that you're supposed to have. If you don't have that, you won't be able to be happy. So what we really need to be focusing on is what it is we truly want. If we focus on what we think we want, or what we've been trained, what we have chosen to be hypnotized into believing what we want, if we focus on that, then The Secret is a hit and miss. And the reason why it's a hit and miss is because it's a hit. One of the things that you can be sure of is if you focus on the things that you don't want. Like if you have a victim mentality and you focus on that, you will continue to create that. The universe is set up so that it will continue to create any kind of victim mentality that you hold on to. And the reason for that is at some point you're going to get so tired of that that you'll let go of it. And then you can learn how to manifest what you really want. The other way to manifest without ever worrying about it, about whether or not it's going to work, is to focus on what your soul wants. And that's not arbitrary. You came into this life pre-programmed by yourself to want certain things in your life. You also came into this life pre-programmed to go through all of your major challenges when you go after those things. When you follow your orlog, your truest desire, your deepest desire, what you've programmed yourself to be, you're weird. When you follow that, what will happen is that you will continuously be forced to make choices between what it is you think you want, which is coming out of fear, or what you think others want for you, wanting to fit in to the society. Even if you're a rebel, and you're a member of such and such society, you're still part of a society. So you still want to be you want the approval of those people who are saying we don't need anybody's approval. See what I mean? So you're either going to be making choices about that, which has to do with pleasing other people or alleviating a fear, or you're going to make the choice of going after what it is you truly want. And sometimes what you truly want will mean you're going to have to give up everything. I mean, I've had to go through that. Whereas, like, you know, to be safe, I should do this, but I really don't want to do that. That sounds horrible. I'd much rather do that, and that is a lot scarier, and if I do that, I might end up with nothing, or, you know. So it feels like a death. This is what our ancestors meant when they said dying in battle. Only those who die in battle go to Valhalla. Those who die in old age or illness go to the underworld. And that represents when you die, when you live every moment ready to die for what you truly want. Not meaning kill somebody, blow them up. It's not what I mean. Meaning that if you go after what you really want, there will be a fear that you'll lose something, that you'll die to something, you'll lose everything. If you go after it even though you have that fear, then the universe says that person goes to Valhalla. I mean, you get to go on to the next level of your life. If you die in that state, where you have achieved all of your desires, you have no regrets, then you go to the next level. You don't have to be a human again. You don't go to the underworld. If you die in disease and old age and disease comes from a place of weakness. At least it has that symbolic connection to weakness. And we could talk a lot about what sickness really is, but I won't get into that. But that means that you've chosen to go after what you thought was safe, or wanting to be part of what other people wanted for you. And then you won't have achieved your desires because there will be unfulfilled soul desires that didn't get addressed. And so you go to the underworld and you have to work through all that, and you go, I got to go back because I still want to do that. I still want that one thing. And then you come back as a human and you have to do it all over again. It's not a curse. It's a choice. Okay, so I kind of got off the subject there. But surrendering means to surrender to what it is you truly want. And most of us are scared to death of what we truly want. Our biggest fear is not of failure. Our biggest fear is of success. We sabotage ourselves to avoid the fear of success, because once you achieve it, you know, I'm telling you from my personal experience right now, I'm achieving things that I really struggled with for a long time, that it didn't look like I was going to be able to achieve. And it's scary because there's nothing in front of you. It's totally new territory. It's like it's being written as you go. And so I'm like, I can see the ground right under my feet, but that next step, there's nothing there. What am I going to step on? What's going to happen? What's next? And that's living in a state of, ideally, living in a state of being fearless and going after what you truly want, regardless of the fear connected to it. Okay? So what ends up happening is that you are designed to be in a place where you can control space-time. Space-time, reality as we look at it, is nothing more than every single microsecond that you enter into. Every single microsecond that you enter into is recreating itself. We have this illusion that there's this continuity. My cup stays there. If I don't move it, my cup will stay there. My glasses will be there. The computer will be there. The door is there. That's an illusion. Every single microsecond, things are being recreated all the time. And so your intentions have a lot to do with that. And especially we're in a state of discomfort, when we're in a place of where we could easily get into a victim mentality, what's happening is that you are continuing to micro-create those uncomfortable situations because that is more familiar to you and more comfortable for your mind than if you were to completely change your viewpoint. To change how you saw yourself and let go of that and change how you saw the universe. It looks good on paper. Everybody wants it on paper, but when it really comes down to doing it, it's very hard work. So everything that I teach, all this stuff, there's a lot of work involved in following this path. But be clear that the work that you're doing is about cleaning out your insides, cleaning out your unconscious, your lower self, cleaning out your vey, your willpower, cleaning all that out so that you don't have anything blocking you from connecting to your soul desire. And when you are able to connect directly to your soul desire without fear, and if you have cleaned out your unconscious blocks, it'll manifest instantly. And you'll have your perfect life. You can create your Valhalla right here, your heaven on earth right here. Okay? So anyway, let's see if there's any questions, and let's move past that. So let me see. Let me back up here, see if I can find any questions. All right. Looking for the questions, looking for the questions. We got 39 people on New Year's Eve. I'm happy you guys are here. I didn't know if anybody was going to be able to show up. Okay, so Reese, Ziggy, Henman, let me be clear. When I say type out the question in all caps, I mean just the word question. You don't have to type out the whole question in all caps. Type out the word question in all caps and then just type in your question. So I almost went past your question there. Let's see. I got kind of lost. Okay, so let's be clear. All right, so how to overcome demons' thought forms. First off, your demons are your own creation, so what are you trying to overcome? Trying to overcome yourself? You created them. So the easiest way to overcome demons, first off, let me be clear. I used to be an exorcist. So that stuff is real. I mean, I've seen and experienced things that, you know, in the movie Exorcist happened. Everything short of head spinning around. Anything short of that, I saw it. So that stuff does exist. Having said that, nothing can affect you unless you have given it permission. And in fact, I'll go so far as to say, not only is it that you've given it permission, you invited it in. How do you invite negativity into you? By indulging and investing in fear-based belief systems. When you indulge in any fear-based belief system, any victim mentality, you are sending out an invitation to people, places, things, entities to come and harass you. And they are doing you a favor because what you really want is to be diverted from your divine essence, which is living continuously in every moment, micro-creating itself. And it's a very frightening place to hold on to your ego. Your ego will get destroyed in that. So this is everything that I could point out to it, whatever it is: global warming, hunger, war, corruption. All these things are all based in one thing, which is everybody involved in that on any side that they're on are trying to divert themselves from the fear of being in that moment, of being in that that state of creating in every microsecond. When you can get to that place, then, well, if you get to that place, you stop being a human being. But the closer you get to that place, the less you worry about anything. You don't have to worry about demons. You don't have to worry about people, institutions, belief systems. You don't have to worry about anything because you know that you've created it and you can continue to create it. So when we're in the state in between, which I'm like you are, I'm still part of this limited reality. Then I don't waste time worrying about that stuff I don't have any control over. Who's running the government? You know, what the oil companies are doing, what whoever it is, the Koch brothers, the Illuminati. I don't worry about it because it's not going to change anything. They're only there because of our need to invest in feeling like a victim. So if I don't invest in that, then whether they exist or not is immaterial. And they can't harm you. They can't do anything to you. Okay, so looking for the questions again. Okay, so I see a question mark. No, talking to somebody else there. All right. Do I see a question? Pharaoh Horus, again, put question in all caps and then just write your question. How do I contact my twin flame? First off, there's a lot of assumptions there. I'm feeling you have a need to connect to your twin flame. I suppose I can understand that. So the first thing you need to do is stop believing that you need to be with your twin flame. If you feel as though that you aren't infinite within yourself, that you're not happy within yourself, those kinds of things, although I understand them, those kinds of if you invest in those feelings, you can have any feeling you want, just to be clear. It's not the feelings that are the problem. It's whether or not we invest in them or act on them or react to them. As long as you invest or react to those feelings, then you're pushing your twin flame farther away. So the way to attract your twin flame is to learn how to be as happy as you can possibly be with everything that you have right now. And yeah, that's the first place to start. So, you know, again, twin flame means it's the other part of you. So the other assumption is that they're apart from you. They're not with you. So you only try and contact something that's away from you. So there's the other wrong assumption there. Your twin flame is you. So you can talk to your twin, assuming you have one, you can talk to your twin flame as though he or she is right there with you all the time. And again, when you are happy and comfortable and content within yourself, your twin flame will appear, and or you won't need to manifest him or her. All right, so let's see here. Looking for the questions here. Question, Warhammer XLK, question. A child during young age get drawn towards certain activities and hobbies. Would you say those activities are the real purpose their soul came back for, or it's too young? I don't know. I'd need some how young are we talking about? Because we start to create our unconscious patterns at around age 4. That's when they really start to get pushed into the unconscious. So are we talking a 4-year-old kid? Because you could be a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid and be operating on false agendas, trying to please other people. This is really the struggle. Again, it happens at 4, right around 4 years of age. Let me be clear. When you're first born as an infant, you are 100% unconscious, meaning the unconscious mind. You are pure unconscious mind. You're a sponge. You're soaking everything in. And so the thing about the unconscious is that there's a reality there that we're not aware of, but we're still responsible for. So when you're an infant growing up into a toddler, you are soaking everything up and you learn what it is people really want from you on the unconscious level. And then you make assumptions in your mind. And what a little kid wants more than anything is to be taken care of by his or her primary caregivers, your parents, and then you want their love. You worship them. So that means if your parents are screwed up, really mean, cruel, horrible people, you're going to worship that as you're growing up. And so you learn what it is that they need and what they want in order to get loved and fed and all that kind of stuff. So that's why we have people running around doing really stupid things. This is why we have racists, and this is why we have, because these are people who are they're still mentally and emotionally at 3 and 4 years of age trying to please their screwed up parents or rebel against them, which is the same thing. Rebelling against your parents is a temper tantrum trying to get your parents' attention and get them to love you. It's the same thing. So those are put into our unconscious mind very early. But as a 3 or 4-year-old, they don't make any distinction between what you're supposed to think and what you're supposed to want. Whereas when we get older, we live in this place of learning how to justify and minimize. So we can walk around with a smile on our face while still feeling scared to death and wanting to manipulate and control and hurt other people. But we justify it. Or we walk around as people pleasers, wanting to please everybody, make everybody happy, which is the same thing. You're trying to control them by pleasing them. People pleasers are controllers. They're trying to control other people. Manipulators, it's a form of manipulation. Now, they justify it by telling themselves that, I just want love. I just want everybody to be happy. You want people to be happy because you don't want to be afraid. You want to calm down that angry alcoholic parent or whatever, that abused you. You want to calm down the abuser so you won't get hurt. So the way you calm them down is by controlling them. Since you can't control them by beating them up, which is what they do to you to control you, you control them by people-pleasing, by trying to give them what they want. And more than that, you're trying to think 20 steps ahead about what they're probably going to want. That's why when you're with people pleasers, they're not really listening to what you're saying. They're trying to figure out what it is you're going to want from them. And then they're going to try and be that for you. I used to say that people pleasers were, I disliked them more than I did. I'd prefer to have somebody, well, I'm not going to say that in the present. I used to say that I would have preferred somebody walk up and put a gun to my head and say, give me your money, than to be a people pleaser, because at least I know what the guy with the gun wants. At least he's upfront about it. People pleaser, you don't know what they want. They're trying to find a way. But that's my own victim mentality thing that I used to deal with, which I'm getting past as I get older. So anyway, the question was about a little kid. And do little kids, are they going after their soul desire? And the truth is that, yeah, if you have a little kid, especially if either they got a strong soul or if they live, in a fairly decent home, you can listen to them and they will tell you what it is they truly want. Maybe they want to be an astronaut when they're 6 or 7. That may be them following their soul desire. As they get older, an astronaut might turn into an artist who paints pictures of the cosmos, or a photographer who uses telescopes to take pictures of the planets. See what I mean? So they may have started with that. So the answer is yeah. I mean, if left to themselves, little kids will have a pretty good idea that they may not be able to verbalize exactly what their soul desire is. Some of them do, but at the very least, they will be moving in that direction, unless they're, like I said, already trying to, deal with some less than perfect childhood scenarios. Anyway, so let's see what else. All right. Question. Deadly Writer says, question, how can I save my family tree of life to save my loved ones from themselves and others hurting them? First off, your assumption that you can do something about or for other people is false. So let me just get rid of that for you. You have no power to do anything for anybody. I mean, I say that here as I'm teaching. I'm supposed to be a teacher. But all I'm really doing is I am telling the truth as I understand it, and you will either hear it and act on it or not. I have no power or control to give you or save you from anything. So you can't save anybody. Now, let me go even further. You're asking me this question thinking that you want to be helpful to them, but what's really going on is exactly what I just got through talking about. The thought of your family, you have this need to please them or fix them, but it's not coming from an honest desire to help them. I know that may not make any sense to you. You may think I'm totally off my rocker here, because you may be weeping about wanting to help them. It's really about you. You're wanting to save yourself. And I bet if I ask you more questions, I'd have to ask you more questions, but I'm willing to bet that what you really want is you want the love and acceptance of your family, and you're trying to. Anyway. Bottom line is, it's none of your business what anybody in your family does. So I don't know what you mean by family tree of life. I have no idea what that means. That's a way of spiritualizing, something that you want. And you're turning it into this objective spiritualization in order to keep justified in doing what you're doing. But I'm saying drop it. If you want to really save your family, the only thing that you can do is go after your deepest soul desire. So the question I would ask you is, if we were to determine what your true soul desire was, which I'm willing to bet you may be having difficulty knowing what that is because you're still wrapped up in other people. So that tells me you don't know what you want. You're still wrapped up in others. But if you were, I bet you if you go after your true soul desire, it would mean those people you are trying to save probably either rejecting you or you feeling as though you're hurting them by doing what you really want. So drop it. You can't save them. You can't help them. You can't help them from hurting themselves. You can't help them from hurting others. You can't do anything about that. Only thing you can do is to go after what you truly want. And until you stop trying to take care of other people, which is none of your business, by the way. What other people do is none of your business. Until you stop trying to control them by saving them, you won't know what it is you truly want. Okay? Boy, I'm getting really straightforward with this New Year's energy, aren't I? So hopefully you're still around, and if you are, and if you don't know what I'm talking about and you want to know, I would suggest getting a session with me. By the way, anybody, if they want a private session with me, go through the same channels you would go to get an astrological reading. Go to astrology.thunderwizard.com and get an astrology reading, and then put in the notes that you want a private session about whatever it is. I'll have to put another thing so that people can actually buy that. Okay, so yeah, Warhammer clarifies around 5 to 6 years old. It's kind of in between. They might be old enough that they're starting to go after trying to please other people, but there's still a real good possibility at 5 or 6 that they still know what it is that they want. But it is kind of too early to tell. Nostradamus question, how can somebody become one of your students? You go to thunderwizard.com and you sign up at a subscription level. So there are multiple subscription levels. When you get to thunderwizard.com, it's a Patreon page on the right-hand side. You scroll down and you see different ways to become a student. So take a look at that. Otherwise, you can, the thing that I recommend everybody do if they're interested in this is to go to thunderwizard.com and at the very least sign up at the $25 level. You'll get access to all the free videos, and you can learn from the bottom up. If you scroll all the way to the bottom and keep going, hit more videos until you get to the bottom, and start from there, then you can learn my form of wizardry, shamanism, which goes back into our ancestral understandings. That'd be my suggestion to anybody and everybody who's interested in this. All right, so okay, so hi, Emerson's Bike and Coffee and Rum Shop. Thank you. Happy New Year. She dropped $2 on the super chat. Thank you, my sister. Very powerful. She's a Valkyrie, in case you didn't know it. I don't know if you wanted me to tell anybody that. Somebody else dropped down. Who was that? Somebody else dropped down 5 pounds, it looks like. Thank you to whomever that was. I can't see who that was. All right. Brian Mullen. Question. Whoops. Who is your favorite god, and how do you show or make daily sacrifice to them? I'm going to tell you what first comes to mind. My favorite god is myself. And I make daily sacrifice to them by thinking about surfing. That's my worship of my highest deity, which is myself. And I think about surfing, and I think about which surfboard I'm going to use. If I don't surf that day, then I'm planning on which one I'm going to wax up next time. And I think about, right now I'm thinking about a trip I want to take to a place called Christmas Island in the southeast. Just spend 2 weeks and surf. That's how. That's how I make daily sacrifice. Now, having said that, I don't have a favorite god. I've worked with a lot of them, and whichever one I'm working with at the time is my favorite. Whichever one I'm working with at the time is my favorite. But what's important to understand about that is that this gets me back to astrology. To answer your question, if I were to give you like how I sacrifice, let's say, to Woden or to Thunar, that might not be the best way for you to do it. Because the way that Woden wants to be sacrificed to, I'll just look at my chart. Where is Mercury in my chart? Mercury is in Virgo. So for me, if I were to do sacrifice to Odin, the best way that I could do it would be to face north and light incense. That's what he wants. But that's not how he wants it from you. The only way I can know that is if I look at your chart. So if I give out, here's how it's done, then there might not be anything wrong with it, but I like tuning things to a frequency. So again, anybody wants an astrological reading to know how to best worship whichever god, and you can give me a god and I'll be able to look at your chart and figure it out. Go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. Okay. Henry Detrick says, question, is there a rite or way to contact... Sorry, hang on a sec. Is there a rite, R-I-T-E, is there a ritual or a way to contact and reclaim your soul from a previous life so you can continue your soul work? There used to be rites of passage to do this and go to your grave from your past life, but we've lost most of that knowledge today. So, well, if that's true, I'd be very interested to learn about what that is and whether that's true or not. My answer to you is, again, you're operating from a fear-based assumption, which is that you're missing something and that you have to go back and get something because you don't have it now. And if you had that, then you'd be able to finish your soul work. So you hear that? So the first answer to your question is you don't need to do that because you brought it with you. Your soul is your soul. You don't have to reclaim your soul from a previous life. That's what reincarnation is in its essence, by definition. When you are reincarnated because there was a soul desire that didn't get fulfilled. And when you went to the underworld, you became conscious of it and were shown it and became aware of it. And you said, I want to go back and do it. Nobody forced you into it. You said, I need to go back. I need to do that. And then you tried to program it within yourself so that you would remember in a certain way and follow the rules of being incarnated, which is that you don't remember and all that kind of stuff. So it's there. You don't have to reclaim it. If you want to do a ritual to connect to your soul now, you can do that. And again, go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. I'll show you how you do that. The best way for you to do that. Okay, so Peter in Jersey, is Jupiter bigger than the sun? I don't know why you're asking that question. It depends. From my perspective right now, Jupiter is a lot smaller than the sun. Well, actually, aren't they the same size when you look at them? I guess it all depends. Jupiter is smaller than the sun. Sun is much bigger than Jupiter. But that's, the reason why I ask why you're asking that is because obviously you know that. You know what science teaches. So why would you ask that unless you're buying into some alternative scientific theory that has some other thing going on? So anyway. Thurman Weber, question, how can we awaken the fearless part of us and deprogram the fearful and negative part of us? The world has programmed us to be victimized and fear things. Let me change that last sentence for you. You have chosen to allow yourself to be programmed to be victimized and fear things. Nothing happens to you without your permission. So I'm answering your question by addressing your false assumption there. So the first thing to deprogram yourself from any fearful beliefs is to identify what are your fear-based beliefs. Any of them. That's one of them. The belief that the world has programmed you to be victimized and fearful. I understand it. It's not an untrue statement. It's just not complete. The complete statement is that you have chosen to be programmed by the world to feel victimized and fear things. So how can you awaken the fearless part of you? That's a great question. The way to awaken the fearless part of you is to get conscious of what gives you the greatest joy. Fearlessness is not about facing death. I know some guys who would have no fear going unarmed into a room full of armed men and taking on all of them. Extremely brave warriors. But if you ask them to sit down and meditate, they get scared to death. If you ask them to tell somebody that they love them, they get scared to death. So that's not fearlessness. Fearlessness is being able to live your joy without any protective barriers. You know, I had an experience I shared about in the last video a couple days ago. I won't get into all of it, but a lot of personal stuff going on with me that I'm, a lot of tearing away of layers. Probably some of you, if you look at, how I'm talking now as opposed to how I was talking just a few months ago, you might be able to see some differences. But to be in that state of vulnerability, again, surrender. To be in that state of surrender to the infinite is very frightening because you feel completely vulnerable. Now, I've learned through the martial art that I practice that if I really want to be not only powerful on a martial level, but to be invincible, I would have to go to that place of total and complete vulnerability. Once you get there, and if you can get there, then you can learn how to then, I can't explain it. I wish I could explain it. But I had that experience the other day. I was walking along the beach at twilight, and I was weeping and laughing, and the whole universe opened up to me. And I was in such a vulnerable state. But that was fearlessness. The way that you achieve fearlessness is by focusing on your joy. You will bump into your fear when you ask yourself, what is it that I truly want? And sometimes people don't know what they truly want, and sometimes people can't get to what they truly want because their brain is justifying. So let's say, for example, somebody's in a codependent relationship with a spouse, and they want to travel the world and be a chef. But their spouse says, no, you can't do that because I need you to stay here and mow the lawn or something. I lived in almost that, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it wasn't that far off. I lived in that. And, the truth is that if both of you are living from your soul desire, you can never say to your partner, what I want to do is to travel the world and be a whatever, even if that means leaving them. They will want you to do that because they will feel the joy. They won't have an agenda on whether you stay or go. So the way to get over the fearlessness is first to identify what you really want, and then you may have to, you're going to have to bump into some choice about whether or not you're going to hurt somebody's feelings or disappoint somebody, or, lose the big job. That's another one, losing the job with all the money. You're going to have to make a choice. So trying to be fearless all by itself, that's just guys walking around with guns and, trying to act tough. That doesn't mean anything. That means that you're scared to death. Being fearless means that you are willing to go after the thing that gives you the greatest joy, that creates the greatest love within you, regardless of who you lose in the process. That's fearlessness. So how do you do that? That's for you to find out. That's part of the thing I do. Anyway. One of the things I do when I counsel people is I help them with that. All right, there was some, let's see, Romney on Germany, 5 pounds dropped down. Thank you, sir. Showing his appreciation. Thank you, I appreciate that. I don't know how it works, but that's how the super chat thing works. So thank you, Romney. PD in Jersey, he's glad he got the Vedic reading. Yeah, me too. Okay, Lindsay Rogers, question. Hello, Lindsay. So I fell in love with Iduna. Yeah, she's pretty wonderful. I am curious about my next mantra. How can I learn more from you? Well, I will contact you about that. Lindsay is one of my students, so we'll talk about that. Lindsay Rogers, question. Learn more from me about Iduna. I will be happy to share that with you. Okay, Emerson's Coffee, Bike, and Rum Shop. Lindsay, he did a video about her. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Questions. Looking for the questions. Cataly, to you, question. Do you believe in soul fragmentation or personal energy loss? Yes. But with the caveat that you created it. So if you created it, then guess what? You have the power to fix it. So, the whole idea of soul retrieval. I definitely believe in soul retrieval. And what's powerful about soul retrieval is that soul retrieval is not an intellectual process. It's done through ritual and ceremony. Now, the unconscious mind loves to look at ritual and ceremony and uses that. It doesn't matter whether the symbols in that ritual or ceremony are true or not. If it's true to the unconscious mind, it's true. So the idea that the soul is somewhere far away underneath a tree somewhere, and you have to go and get into your spirit animal, let's say a wolf, and you have to travel along and go through different worlds and find the tree. The bottom line is that you are taking responsibility and you're taking your soul back. Using that type of imagery, that's fine. But you can also do it with just there's all kinds of ways to do it. Again, it helps me if I look at your chart. I know how best to work with your unconscious. But I do believe in it. But again, you can change that. You can decide right this second. If you feel that your soul is fragmented or that you've lost your soul, you can make the decision right now that you're going to get it back no matter what it takes. And you say to the universe, I don't know how to do it, so guide me. Whoever it is that you worship, talk to that deity. Say, Odin, I don't know how to find my soul. Please help me find my soul. And then get away and watch what happens. And either somebody will come along or some ritual will come along or something. And it may mean doing soul retrieval. It may mean doing something else. Let's see here. Wicked Brat 69 question. What are your thoughts on tattoos or impressions such as, you mean rune? You put ruin, R-U-I-N. Rune is spelled R-U-N-E. I think you mean rune. Impressions such as runes or glyphs on one's spirit body. Well, if it weren't for certain things in my life, I'd be covered in tattoos. There was 2 instances in my life where I was about to cover myself with tattoos. Second time around, I almost did it. And they would have had a lot of symbolic and spiritual meaning for me. And I ended up not doing it because I fell in love with somebody who didn't like tattoos. And she liked the naked body, and she liked it a lot without tattoos. And so I was far more interested in enjoying her amorous affections than to have something on my body. I got over that need pretty quick. So I don't have any real thoughts about it. I'm okay with them. I think sometimes they look cool. I think most of the time they look like crap. I think most of the time people are doing it to fit in, and I think most of the tattoos that I see just look ridiculous. I think if you're going to put runes on your body, you better be really, really clear about why you're doing it. And I've told people, you know, I've got a symbol that I've created for the 9 world and the runes connected to the Ayashelmer and all that. And somebody asked, you know, could I give them permission to do it? And I said, yeah, but I wouldn't. Because that's a very powerful symbol. You don't want to mess around with that. You know, and a lot of people put on these symbols without knowing what they mean, especially like, you know, you've got the, you know, like if you got like racists who put on the filfot, the swastika. They have no idea what they're saying. They have no clue what they're doing when they do that. By the way, do you know who? There was another culture that used the swastika. That was the Navajo, and they would do their sand paintings, and in their sand paintings they would put in the swastika. But the sand paintings, I believe it was the sand paintings, were then meant to be destroyed. You only did it during the ritual, and then you destroyed it because you didn't want that symbol out for very long because it was too powerful. But that symbol is about cleansing negativity. And look what happened to the Nazis. You know, they didn't win, and they had the ability to win, and they didn't. And part of the reason is that that symbol called down onto them the cleansing of the universe. That's Thor's symbol, by the way. You call out Thor's symbol. Thor is the protector of humankind, of all people. Everybody in the earth. Thor is here to protect all of them equally. And if you carry his symbol on your body, you better be prepared to protect every single living being on the planet. And if you're not, and especially if you feel somebody's your enemy, guess what's going to happen? That symbol's going to come back at you in a big way. If not in this lifetime, then in another. You'll be very sorry you did that. So I wouldn't even play around with it. Why play around with it? It's cool and it's fun, and maybe you have a strong connection to it, and maybe it'll be harmless. I don't know, but why play around with it? You know, put Mickey Mouse on your body instead. Anyway, those are my thoughts. You asked for my thoughts. Having said that, that's just my opinion. Do whatever you want. All right, looking for the questions again. Question, Pharaoh Horus. How do I restoring my powers from past life as God Horus? I don't know that you were God Horus in past life. Maybe you were. I couldn't answer that because I don't follow the Egyptian practice, but my suggestion to you is to keep watching my channel. You don't need to restore your powers from a past life. I already said that. You have infinity within you now. The question is, are you going to awaken your powers of yourself in this life? Wanting to restore your powers from a past life means you're trying to escape who you are now, which is coming out of fear. If I talk to you long enough, I'm absolutely positive at this moment I'm going to find you're operating from some fear-based assumptions. So drop them. You're infinite right now. Don't try and be what you used to be. If you were, in fact, Horus in a past life, guess what? You're not Horus anymore. You're something greater than that now. Be that. And the first way to do that is drop all the fear-based stuff. Watch more of my channel and you'll understand more about it. Okay, Cataly to you dropped down 2 pounds. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Wicked Brat 69 question. Looks like runes on my spine when I look at it on energetic level. Is that a question or a statement? That's interesting, if that's true. Okay, so let's do a little bit of, let me take a little bit of a break, do a little bit of business, and then I'll come back and we'll do some more talking. Happy New Year. Let's focus while I'm gone. Focus on trying to find out what you truly want. See if what comes up. Okay, I'm back. All right, so let's explore this a little bit more here. All right, so let's see. I may have. I'm looking at my notes here. I think I may have talked about a lot of this. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about something I think which I started to talk about, which is true creation, true manifestation is effortless. When we are in our ideal state, we don't have to try and manifest anything. We automatically do it. In fact, we're doing it now all the time. You are constantly manifesting all the time. And no amount of trying to open your third eye or all that kind of stuff is going to change it. Your third eye is already completely manifesting your entire existence. The work that is involved is going through the act of becoming conscious. The work that is involved involves us, letting go, becoming aware of, and letting go of all of the self-created, false belief systems and the fears and all that stuff within us. That's where the work comes in. That's what the mantra and the ritual is that I give you if you get a Vedic astrological reading from me. That's what the Qigong is there to give you strength. When you do enough Qigong, you will then start to become conscious. People want to know the difference. Not a lot of people. There are some people that have come to me and I tell them that they need to do Qigong. And so I'll give them a Qigong exercise to do. And some of them will come back and say, but you know what, I don't need to do that. And they do something like, they'll do things like Reiki, or they'll do, other kinds of things like, guided visualizations, which are great. I got nothing against either of those things, but they're not energy work. They're easy ways for us to allow our brain and our intellect to think we're doing something. But energy work is about connecting your physical aura with the life force energy of the universe. And that is an activity. It's not a thought. You can't think yourself through energy work. It takes, there's an action. At the very least, breath work. Sometimes just breathing in and out through the nostrils. The alternate nostril technique that I teach. Well, I didn't make it up. It's a very old yoga technique. Stuff like that will start to bring things to your conscious awareness. Life force energy is about becoming conscious. When you're conscious, then you'll know what to get rid of. And then once you get rid of it, then ideally you don't ever have to think. You don't ever have to try and make anything happen. It will automatically happen. But if we're not there yet, then we have to do the work. That's what all this stuff that I'm teaching you is. All the ritual, all the things I'm teaching you are tools that your soul obviously wanted to learn if you're learning from me. But on top of that, they are tools that will give you the ability to become aligned. And then once you're aligned, it all happens. I'm a surfer. I love the symbolism of surfing, but that's pretty much it. I have to get my surfboard and I have to wax it up, and then depending on how big the waves are, I got to put a lot of effort to paddle through that. That's the hardest thing about surfing is the paddling. Hard work. Surfing is a lot of hard work. Paddling out through all those waves and then sitting out there and waiting for the wave and then paddling for the wave and standing up. But assuming that the wave is shaped right, once I'm up, all I got to do is just flow. The wave and the surfboard and me, we know what we're doing. I don't have to try and make anything happen. It's the reason why I do it is because that feeling of having that power underneath me, it's just an amazing feeling. That is a symbolic representation of what happens when you're aligned with your soul. When you're aligned with your soul, you just focus on what your joy is. And that joy, like a wave, will come up behind you and push you through into the next, wherever it is. But if you struggle, then you're going to fall. So creation is effortless. And the way that you can then get to the place where you can, what seemingly looks like you are controlling things, like my fiance used to say, she'd say, "You're not human." And I'd say, "What are you talking about?" She'd say, you just said the other day that you wanted thus and such, and I knew then that it wasn't possible. And then I see 2 weeks later you have that. And I go, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. But that in that moment, I was in that place where I was just effortlessly acknowledging to myself what I really wanted. Let me focus, maybe that's a better way to focus on. There are multiple infinite realities at any given moment. Infinite. And you will be on one of them. And anything you can imagine, positive or challenging or pleasant, has to exist. It exists somewhere. There is a version of you in anything you can possibly imagine. The question is whether you're going to be able to flow into the one or the ones that have the most pleasure for you, that really truly give you the most satisfaction. It's really what it's all about. It's about being fulfilled. I'm not talking about being entertained or being diverted or shooting drugs in your neck. That's fun for 10 seconds. I'm not talking about that kind of fun. I'm talking about being truly fulfilled on the deepest level and flowing with that. So that's what you're trying to flow with. We put all this effort into trying to make our lives happen, when in reality, all we really need to do is just flow with what's happening within us. But like I said, in order to know that, you have to go through the lessons of learning how to, not take action on your fears or on your desire to please others. That's the tough part. So that's really what it is you're surrendering to that. And then it looks to other people as though you have this ability to create things out of nowhere. But truth of the matter is that being in that place of emptiness, you're not really creating anything. You're just simply along for the ride. Your soul is doing it all for you. So that's what I wanted to get at with this. I wanted to talk about, I do talk a lot about taking responsibility and creating your own life, and that we do manifest everything. When we're working hard, we're probably creating something other than what we truly want. And the hard work, like I said, is learning how to surrender to what it is we truly want. That's the tough part. Once we get there, we're okay. Anyway, so let's see if there are any questions. I guess I'm okay. My computer is so big today, I don't need to look at it. Hopefully I fixed the sound problem, by the way. I think I fixed it. Okay, so Osiren, question, how do you reconnect your energetic cords if broke the... Osiren, new to my channel? What have I just got through saying? Drop any fear-based belief systems? Saying that your energetic cords are broken is coming from a place of fear? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Who cares? If they're broken, you broke them. You broke them because you went after something based in fear or based out of a desire to please other people. What we call ego. Ego is wanting other people's love and respect and attention. Nothing wrong with that. But when you base your life on that, you end up making, stupid mistakes. So if your energetic cords are broken, you broke them. Good news is you can fix them. So drop the whole idea. Let's just drop the whole idea that energetic cords can get broken and you have to fix this and, that you're broken. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You just are in some, some mistaken understandings, and you are continuing to take actions based on some of those misunderstandings. Okay? Watch more of my channel. Henry Detrick, question, is it normal to receive enormous backlash when you start fulfilling your soul desire? So let me stop there before I continue. Oh, let me see. I'll go further. I made a land purchase to begin on my work, and I'm getting people fighting me over the perceived risk. Okay. So is it normal to get backlash? Yes. I don't know that means that you're following your soul desire just because you're getting backlash. Sometimes you get backlash because the universe is saying that's not where you're supposed to go. Having said that, the question is, I'd have to talk to you, until I know all the details, I can't really say, in this case, what's happening. But the idea is that you listen to what makes you happy. If your desire to get a land purchase is based on a need to feel like you need land, because if you don't have land, you won't have money, and you need to get land because of this or that, or if it's coming from that, then that's a sign it's not necessarily your soul desire. if the idea of this land purchase and the work that you're going to do on it, when you're sitting in silence and emptiness, makes you giggle because it just sounds like so much fun, that's a good sign that that's your soul desire. Again, everything, there's a context for everything, but that would be a one instance. So I would have to find out, you know, what you mean by that. But the short answer is there is a possibility. It's not necessarily normal, because there isn't a normal. But if you are in codependent relationships, let me put it this way. See, right now I really don't have any people in my life. It's just me. So there's really nobody that's going to backlash. I'm not responsible to anybody. I could take all my money and spend it. You know, I could put myself in debt. There wouldn't be anybody to stop me. But if you're in a relationship and that relationship is codependent, then when you start moving towards your soul desire, your partner is going to do one of two things. Your partner is either going to come up with you, because sometimes that's what's happening. People are waiting for the other person to align, and then they will ride that with them and align with them. But more often than not, if it's a codependent relationship, then people are connecting out of their need, out of their fears. And so when the other person starts to connect to their soul desire, then the person opposite them will fight that, because they will perceive it as though you're taking away from them or not giving them what they need or something like that. And then they will want to fight you about that. And that's tough. So having what you just, I would have to talk with you more to find out which side you're on. But the short answer is it is possible. See, Bertranu, question. If I listen if you listen to me, he says, if I listen to you when I'm sleeping, the subconscious will, quote, learn something, question mark? I suppose it's possible. I can't say it's not impossible. Give it a try, see what happens. I don't know. I would love to hear what the answer to that is. Okay. All right, so that's it for right now. Let's take another break here. Yeah, we're at... all right, Dharma Child just jumped in with a question. Would you say that the cease of questioning itself is a step in the right direction? Not necessarily. I mean, it sounds good on paper, but not necessarily, because, you know, let me give you an example. Again, when I was in Idaho, I'm used to California. I'm used to the Sierras, and this was 15 years ago. So I got there, I was used to the Sierras 20 years ago, before global warming started becoming a real issue. And back then, the Sierras, when you went up there, you couldn't bring any animals with you. You couldn't bring any motorized vehicles. You couldn't bring any guns. Just what you could carry on your back. And so being up there was a pretty amazing place. It was really amazing. I think they've changed things around now, because other people want their freedom to impose their noise and guns on other people. And anyway, I don't know if they're doing that or not up there. But so that's what I was used to. And I went off to Idaho. I forgot. Did I just talk? I forgot the story I was going to tell. What was the question? Oh, yeah, so I went up there and I saw firsthand when I got there the effects of global warming, because what was happening is that things were starting to die because things were at lower elevation up there than they are here, which means under normal weather conditions, it's colder in there in the winter, and so you can have forest at a lower elevation in the summer. So even if it gets hotter in the summer, the forest is going to be okay, because it gets really cold in the winter. But what was happening is that it was getting warmer and warmer, and so the trees weren't able to fight off the bugs, which is what happens. The bugs get in there when the ecology is changing, in order to get rid of the plants that don't belong there. So that's what's happening. So you get all these bugs that come in, the moths that come in, and they destroy the trees. And so I got up there, and there's all these dead trees everywhere that I went. And there were people that did varmint hunting. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's an actual thing, and people call it a sport. And what they'll do is they'll ride around on a motorcycle on a trail until they see like some kind of a rodent, like a ground squirrel. And there's a lot of ground squirrels up there. And they'll then sit in the bushes and they'll just take pot shots at. So I'm in my camp thinking, next to this beautiful stream, and thinking I'm in the middle of the wilderness, thinking that I'm somewhere in, the mountains of California. And I hear these gunshots. And I didn't know what to expect. And so I look around and I see there's this guy, and he's going pew, 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 and he's just shooting at what looks like nothing. And so I didn't want to get shot, so I stood up and I said, hey, 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 over here. And I walked over and I said, what are you doing? And he said, oh, I'm varmint hunting. And I said, what's that? He says, oh, I'm shooting those ground squirrels. And I said, oh, are you going to take them back and eat them or skin them? He says, no. So you mean you just shoot them and you just let them either like suffer or die? And he says, yeah, they're just target practice. This is a sport. And he could see me looking at him with a questioned look on my face, and he says, there's so many of them, it doesn't matter. Now, I didn't say this, but my thought process was, well, there's a hell of a lot of people too, but you don't see me going around shooting them. But the thought of, if you're going to hunt, I thought at least take the body and do something with it. Take the skin and eat the meat, do something. But he was just shooting them and leaving their bodies to rot on the, on the prairie there. And I went back down, and after seeing all this, I was used to it, and I went into I was going to say sheriff, but I meant the rangers station, and I started asking about, what are the laws up here, and what do people do? And I said, what's with all the dead trees and all the things like that? And and I was asking questions because I was trying to find out where can I go to get away from these crazy people making all this noise. And at the end, there was an older ranger there, probably from another, era or whatever. And he comes up to me and says, just enjoy, And so what he was basically saying was don't question. That's what I'm trying to get at. Because your question there of, is the act of not questioning, is that getting there? And the answer isn't necessarily yes. Because sometimes that, just don't question this, is what we do in order to justify where we are. Just don't question anything. So, questions are good. Questions have their place. I agree with you, on the other hand, that too much thinking is being stuck in your intellect isn't helpful. So there are times if you hear me say to somebody, just stop questioning. Just stop trying to figure it out. What I'm saying is that I'm having the experience that that person is stuck in their head. And what they need to do is start having some feelings and deal with their feelings and their instinct, because we do. We are a bunch of people, especially on the YouTube, there's a lot of people smoking a lot of weed and really stuck in their head. And, they want to talk about anything and everything, and there's little action going on. A lot of talking going on, but no action. So you can't just question for the sake of questioning. Your questions have to come and have some practical effect in your life. For me, that's focusing on some kinds of rituals, some kinds of practices, energy work. I'm far more interested in finding ways to give you something practical to make your life better. So that's a yes or no question. To say that, I would need more information. On the one hand, yes, stop. You don't need to be in your head. That's one way to get out of it. But another one is sometimes you do have to question. It is important. But you may be right. For some people, questioning is probably what they should stop doing. Romneon, Germany, once again, thank you for that. Dropped 241 euros. Thank you very much. Okay, so, all right, that's it for the questions right now. We'll take a break. I'll come back with a pithy thing to say at the end, and we'll take it from there. Happy New Year. Okay, so I guess what I want to say is, as we're coming into, well, let's see, there's a couple questions. I'll answer the questions before I go further here. Okay, Thurman Weber question. I recently ordered a Mjolnir or Thor hammer necklace. It came in, and I know it represents Thor's protection, but some people relate it to racism. Is there anything else I should know? No, there isn't anything you should know. You know, I wear this one here because it's interesting and unique and it's cool, and unless you know what you're looking at, you might not know you're looking at a Thor's hammer. I stopped wearing my Thor's hammer for that very reason, because you know, I go out in public wearing it, and the way people looked at me was not the way I wanted to be looked. And I don't mean people were mean to me. I could just tell that there were, you know, people that were worried. What's going on with that guy? You know, and the last thing I want to do is cause fear to anybody. When I lived up in northern Idaho, you know, there's a lot of certain people that live up in northern Idaho, and I was wearing my Thor's hammer, and I remember at a gas station, this guy comes up to me and goes, "Hey, brother!" And if you can probably figure out what kind of brother he thought I was. And I looked at him, and I just looked at him because I didn't know what to say, because the last thing I didn't say what was coming to mind, and I just looked at him, and then I went inside, and I see him talking to his friend, like wondering who the hell I was and all that. And I just realized I didn't want either one of those reactions. I didn't want people to feel afraid of me, and I didn't want to encourage the other guys who don't understand what the Thor's hammer means. So, to answer your question, you know, you have to listen to yourself. If you're able to wear it in such a way where you know, and some people say, who cares what anybody thinks? You know, do what, you know, and I can't argue with that. I feel like I have a responsibility because of who I am, and you know, where I live in Southern California, you wouldn't realize it, but you get a lot of both, and so you can be very damaging, especially if I, you know, went to certain parts of town. You know, I mean, I could potentially be, you know, I could do the opposite of what I want to do, which is I am the spiritual warrior. My job is to make people protected, and so I have a responsibility to make sure not to do that. So anyway, follow your instincts, and just listen to what your gut tells you. I'm sure your gut will tell you what you need to do. I don't even know where you live, so you know, who knows. Maybe it's an opportunity, people ask about it, it's an opportunity for you to talk about that Thor is here to protect everybody on the planet, every human being. If that's, you know, maybe Thor wants to do that through you. So I humbly say I can't answer that question, or I don't have anything else to add to that. All right, let's see here. Butterflies and sunshine. Again, if you put question in front, I'll know you want to ask a question. Can you speak more in future of flowing with infinity in your experiences? Stories are always interesting. You spoke of riding waves. What about in analogies of wind, lightning, or fires? Butterflies and sunshine, that is an excellent suggestion. And I take that as a suggestion directly from the mouth of Shakti herself. And Shakti always tells me what I need to know, and it's very true. I found that when I speak from my experiences and I share stories, that that is a really helpful way. Sometimes I'm too stuck in my head, and I'm one of those people. So what I wanted to say in closing, as we're going into the new year, is to see if we can connect with the feeling of joy. And well, let me take it to another. I'll just tell you what I suggest in a lot of my books. So the question is, how do we find our soul desire? What is our soul desire? The way that I suggest finding your soul desire is creating a pretend universe. So just for a moment, you're a little kid, you're going to create a pretend universe, and in this pretend universe, you're going to create the rules for this pretend universe. And the rules for this pretend universe are as follows. You don't have to work, you don't have to have money, you don't have to follow anybody else's rules. The rules are you don't have to follow any rules that anybody else make. You don't have to do anything for anybody else. That in this pretend universe, there's only one thing you have to do, and that is you have to do the thing that makes you happy. Whatever that is, however crazy or silly that is. Now, it can't be that you're doing it for other people. It has to be for you. What is it that makes you happy? So in your pretend universe, which isn't the one that you live in right now, it's a pretend universe, what is it that you do? If you didn't have to do anything else or please anybody else or do anything for anybody, what is the one thing that you would do? And if you can think about that and it gives you an actual joy, like, for me, I can feel it in my heart and my solar plexus. They're two different places, by the way. This is the heart, this is the solar plexus. I can feel it there like this little giggle happy thing. And when I feel that, I know I'm doing the right thing. Like for myself, for Christmas, I didn't plan on it, but I ended up buying myself a few surfboards. And on paper, part of my head was saying, what are you doing spending all that money? Well, I had the money. I can afford it. But my head was saying, why are you spending all that money? You should be doing this, and you should be saving that, and you should be... And I was listening to what little flicker of joy would happen inside of me, and I followed that. And then after, 3 or 4 surfboards, it stopped. Now, I was obsessed now, and I wanted to buy some more, but that little happy thing didn't come up anymore, so I stopped. That's me living in that pretend universe. And if that means doing something that doesn't... Here's another thing that's interesting about this. So a lot of people will say, yeah, but if I follow my soul desire, I won't be able to live because I have to have a job and I have to have money. And the people say, well, I need to get a bunch of money first, and then I'll... But here's the thing. You may not know it now, and if you talk to me, I can probably help you find it. So if you want a session with me to find out how to take your soul desire and make it into a living, buy an astrology reading and just say, I want a private, career consultation. But the thing is that if that's your soul desire and it pops up and it makes you giggle and it makes you happy, that means the universe wants you to be compensated for that. Now, I don't know what that means, but it means that you will end up having all of your needs met. Whether that means by making money off of it. I make money doing what I would do anyway. What I'm doing right now, I would do anyway. The books that I wrote, I would write anyway. All the astrology readings, I would do anyway. I just decided to turn it into a living. And now I don't work for a living. I get to have fun. And I make a good living at it. I can finally say that. I make a good living at doing exactly what I want. And that started with me being broke and for a while really in debt and and being all alone with no family, no friends, no nothing. And that's how it started. And I just went after what I wanted to do. And I just made the decision. I was only going to do what I wanted to do, and I wasn't going to do anything else. And now I can't even imagine doing a job I can't stand. I can't even imagine it. So think about that and flow with that. Make your intention for this year to flow with that happy state. And if you run into trouble and you get confused, that's what this channel is for. That's what my books are for. That's what all of my services are designed to do. And maybe you can find it on the YouTube channel. You'll find out what you need that'll help you get to the next place and help you be more conscious about finding it. Maybe it'll be working with me personally. Who knows? Maybe it'll be something or somebody else, but it starts with that. That's the most important thing. And my job, everything I do, all the stuff I teach, all the techniques, are all designed to get you to that place where you can feel that little happy giggle place and let that tell you what your next step in life is, because that's all that matters. I'm telling you, nothing else matters. When we leave this life, I can promise you, remember that I told you this, because you will remember it. When you leave this life, you will look back on it and you will not care how much money you made or how successful you were or how popular you were. You will only care about one thing, which is, did I do all the things my soul wanted to do? And if the answer is yes, there was nothing else that I needed to accomplish, you won't have to come back. You will go to Valhalla or whatever, you believe heaven to be. And if there's something left over, and for most of us there will be something left over, then you will want to come back and fulfill that desire. So you might as well get a head start now. Get rid of all the nonsense and just go after what makes you happy, and you'll be that much closer. And it'll be a lot more fun. And when you do that, I can tell you this life is a hell of a lot of fun. It is so much fun. I love living my life. Yes, I've just gone through some tragedy, but I'm not unaware of how everything fits in, and I can see all the blessings and the beautifulness of all of it, and it just makes this life even more fun, and it makes me even more excited to get past this life so that I can reunite with those entities and those beings that I want to see again. So that's it for me. I'll check and see if there are any questions before I go, but that will be my last statement here. All right. Yeah, Thor J, I'm not sure this is the channel for you. You're welcome, definitely welcome to be here, but I'm willing to bet that based on what I've seen you write, this might not be the channel for you, unless you're willing to change some of your opinions. I could be wrong. I might be prejudging you, but you may want to think about whether or not I'm the right teacher for you. Cassandra Kelly, question. I recently had a dream that I was visited by Loki, and he told me to watch the stars more. Should I be using the stars like sailors do as a map during this new shift? I don't know. If you're asking me that question because that's what's coming up in your intuition, then I say yes. If Loki came to you in a dream and told you to watch the stars more, I would ask Loki what he meant by that. So here's the thing about Loki. Loki is the trickster. Anybody who sees Loki as the devil, you can tell how conscious you are by how you react to Loki. If you've noticed, the people who see Loki as the devil, you'll find that they are far more narrow-minded in their viewpoint, and they're far more fear-based. Because Loki represents you being deceived by your own limitations, by your own fears, by your own greed. It's what he represents. And his job is to, and wherever you have those mistaken assumptions within you, there's a sore spot. It's like a little bit of a wound. It's a little bit sore to the touch. And Loki will come around and he will touch them. And he will touch them so that you will do one of two things. Either you will act on them and then follow that to its destination, and then you will have learned the hard way, whatever your mistake is. Or you'll go, oh, that's painful, and then you'll stop and you'll think. Loki wants to show you the truth. Loki of all the gods, is the most interested in your evolution. So if you have the ability to have a relationship with Loki where he comes and tells you these kinds of things, then I would listen to him. At the same time, Loki never says anything that just has a surface meaning. He always does have a hidden agenda in your best interest. So when Loki says, watch the stars, that's probably a whole lifetime worth of meditation on what he meant by that. So I would do exactly what he said and just watch the stars. If the other thing that comes up to your mind, using them like sailors did, if that's what comes up, go for it. But I would also just sit and watch the stars and take him literally, because there's something in there. He told you to be preparing for a dimensional jump, so that's what I would do. Just be prepared. I think if there's something that you need, he would have told you, but I also trust your intuition as well. Yeah, I know, Cassandra, you don't. I'm not saying that for your benefit. I know you see him as who he is. Romney on Germany question. Almost 2 years ago, I dreamed of God. You mean like Jehovah. And then he puts in parentheses, why even God when I am God, question mark. And he said, he chooses me. Then I woke up from the dream and said no to what he chose me for. Have I denied infinity? I don't know, because there are three types of dreams. There is your brain, which has to dump all the information, because when you're walking around, your subconscious mind is recording every single moment all the time. So when you dream, your brain is sort of sifting through the files and getting rid of the files that it doesn't need. So lots of times you dream about just because of what you were watching on television or something like that. Second kind of dream is a dream where a deity or a dead person or a spirit or something will come and talk to you, or you'll have an out-of-body. Some of them are spiritual experiences. And then the third kind is you're either living out your unconscious fears or your unconscious fantasies. So, that's again why I don't recommend people do power plants, because power plants will do the same thing. If you're lucky and you do it right and you have a teacher who knows what they're doing, you might be able to have an actual spiritual experience. More often than not, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to be looking at your unconscious mind in a virtual reality. And so you'll either be living out your fears or your narcissistic fantasies about yourself. That's why if you've known people who do a lot of drugs, they're just totally delusional about themselves. It's because they're stuck in their lower self. So dreams are the same. I myself am not a follower of Jehovah, so if you mean by Jehovah the biblical God, and that God chose you, I would say that's your, I could be wrong, but my belief is that Jehovah is the ego, is the narcissistic self. So that when the one true God says, I choose you, what that is that's your projection. You're projecting your own narcissism into the universe. And so I would say all that was really happening is that you were just having a narcissistic dream. We all do it. This is how our selves process themselves. So I would wake up after that and go, wow, that's interesting. There was my unconscious narcissism going nuts on me right there, making me think that I was important, And we are important, but I mean it in a different way. I think you know what I mean by that. So by saying no to that, no, I don't think you denied infinity. I think you said no to your ego that was trying to make you the most important person in the world, as opposed to you are the most important person in the world, but in and of yourself. You're not more important than me or anybody else. But when you're more important than that person and that person and that person, that's your narcissism. So when you said no to that, I think you said no to your narcissism. I could be wrong, but that's what I think when I looked at that. Yeah, I mean, I was a Christian for years, and I was an exorcist, and I used to go in Jesus' name. Blah. I'll share a story with you. I've got this thing called a Earth Pulse. I recommend getting it. It's this high-powered magnet that sends out these magnetic pulses at the resonance of the Earth. Really amazing, and you use it for healing. It helps you sleep better. But the thing is, you have to make sure that the correct side is facing the body. So I have it underneath my bed when I sleep at night, but it got turned around. So the other side is actually really toxic. It's like the inversion of the Earth. So it can actually, instead of heal you, it can make you unwell. So I don't know how long it was inverted, but it was inverted for a while. And I started having these pains, and my knees were starting to get worse. And I was having these dreams. First, I was having these dreams that people were like, urinating on me. And it was like, what the hell is that all about? And then I had this one dream that there was a demon. And I reverted back to my old Christian days. And I woke up talking in my sleep, saying, in Jesus' name, Satan, I command, and it wasn't doing anything. And then I went and found that that Earth Pulse had been flipped upside down. And I went, oh, no wonder. No wonder. That's my body, my unconscious mind was trying to tell me something, that there was some really negative energy coming into my body. And it wasn't helpful to me. So yeah, so that's, I don't know what that, how did I don't even remember why I said that. In any case, I do recommend an Earth Pulse. They're great. They're a little bit pricey, but I think they're worth it. Earth Pulse, Earth P-U-L-S-E, Earth Pulse. They're great. Okay, so that's it. I don't see any more questions here, so I think I'm going to wrap it up. So, like I said, focus on the bubbly happiness within you and follow that. If you can't find that, then there's a good chance you may need some help. And I'm not saying that in any negative way. We all need help. But you may need to have somebody objective sit down and talk with you. This is one of the things that I do, and I do it pretty good. So go to astrology.thunderwizard.com, purchase a Vedic reading, even if you've already had one, and just say, I want a career consultation. And I'll help you find out what that thing is within you. Because sometimes you need somebody to ask you the right questions and help get through the justifications that you have in your head. So I'd be happy to help you with that as well. Okay, so that's it for me, my friends. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I wish all of you a tremendous new year. I'm really excited about it. Let me just close out 2017 by thanking everybody. Thank you so much for all of the love and support that you've all been giving me. You know, I went through a really tough time, and still going through some challenges and some pain, but you know, I'm feeling so much better. And thank you for letting me come onto the channel and just be real and just be raw. And you know, I did that not knowing how people were going to respond, and people were very supportive, and it was a very healing experience to go through that with you. And I will continue to do that, and I just want you to know that I appreciate that, and thank you so much. And I'm so grateful for anybody who comes onto my channel and watches it. And we're just beginning. This is just the beginning. Things are going to get, there's a lot more stuff coming down the pike. I'm going to be certifying people. Hang on, I know you guys are antsy, but just wait. I'll get together all of the videos, and I'll be certifying people in my form of Vedic astrology. And I think pretty soon we'll start creating another certification program so that other people can mentor. Maybe that'll be the next one, how to help somebody find their soul desire. And I'll certify people in that. But this path is just beginning, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. So thank you so much, my friends. Have a tremendous new year, and I look forward to our next encounter.